there everybody, it's Linnea for iCrafter. Today I'm showing off the Impossible Box Monsters die set. This die set has 6 pieces and all the things that you need to create 3 adorable little monsters. You have the parts to make a mummy, a vampire, and a monster. So that piece on the left there, the large piece, is the main piece that you need to make the Impossible Box. The rest are just the add-ons to create the monsters. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my little monster, and for him I will need to cut the Impossible Box die twice from some green cardstock. I'll cut the pieces to accessorize my little monster from black cardstock and from red. I want to have his hair be black and his eyes be black and have the little scar and his mouth be red. You do need 2 of the box piece to form your box, and then just the pieces for your little embellishments to make your monster. I'm going to go ahead and use my i-Clik pick to poke out all of the pieces from those little accessory dies, and then I'm using my iPress burnisher to really reinforce all of these folds. This is the key for me for making any kind of interactive box or any kind of interactive card or anything, is really reinforcing those crease lines. So the Impossible Box die set will create those crease lines, and then I fold them back and forth, so both directions on each of those crease lines, to make sure that they are really well folded and that everything's going to work together smoothly. I went ahead and really creased all those fold lines on both pieces for my box, and now I'm just going to add some ink blending. You do want to make sure that you add any inking, or if you want to do ink spatters or anything, any technique that you want to do with the cardstock or paper that's forming your Impossible Box. You want to do this before you fold this up and start to adhere it together. It's so much easier. It would be almost impossible to add ink blending once this box is assembled. So I'm going ahead and just going around all the corners, and now I'm going to assemble the box. I'm going to show you this once, and then I will show it to you one other time so that you can really see it in action. There are little side flaps on the left-hand side of the die cut that you want to fold back and add a little bit of adhesive, whether you use liquid adhesive like I'm using, or a tape runner adhesive, or double-sided adhesive. That's what's going to hold your box together. So I like to use liquid adhesive so that if I need to, I can kind of work this box around and make sure that I have it lined up exactly perfectly. Once I have those flaps glued down, you want to make sure that the top flap of your Impossible Box folds out. So it's going to look a little funny, but it wants to fold out. And once you fold that top piece out and you kind of put your box standing upright, these pieces almost come together. They just want to form the correct shape. But make sure you have that top flap folded out, and then there's those little tiny flaps to add adhesive on, and you're going to go ahead and just add some adhesive there, and that's going to form the top of your Impossible Box. Now for the bottom, you can fold this up and glue this however you want. I like to fold this kind of like a like how you would put together a box without tape and then add some adhesive. I just think it looks cute that way, but you definitely don't have to. Either way, I recommend opening up the top of your Impossible Box by just pulling up on the top there, and then I used my iPress burnisher and pushed down from the inside to really make sure that those folds adhered well together. And now my Impossible Box is all put together, so all you have to do is lift up on that little outer flap that we folded out, and you're going to pull up, and that Impossible Box is formed and ready to go. Now I'll go ahead and add my monster accessory pieces to the box. So his little hair that I cut from black, I'll put on the actual top of that box, the portion that's folded outwards that you're going to pick up to open the box. Then I'm adding his scar, his mouth, and his eyes, all using liquid adhesive, and I am using my iGrip flathead tweezers because it just makes it easier. I can position this much better than I could with using my fingers. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm using liquid adhesive again, but use whatever adhesive you like to use. And I'm just going to put these pieces together. Really easy to do, just kind of form your little monster here. The eyes and the mouth will go right below the scar, but you can personalize this and go however you want. I chose to go classic with my look here, but I think it would be really fun to personalize this and go with a purple or an orange monster too. So here we go. That's the finished first box. And you can see how that impossible box opens from the top. And that's going to allow you to put little things in there. This would be perfectly sized for some lip balm or some candies, something like that. Now, something that I did on all of my boxes, that's just an additional finishing step, is I took that main piece that you would use to cut the impossible box, and I cut some little rectangles, or little triangles rather, and I just cut from that inner piece that's going to cut out the triangle from the center top portion of the impossible box, and I added that to the top, and that's just a little finishing detail. So here we go. Let's assemble the second box. I have already reinforced my folds using my i-Press burnisher and added some inking, and now I'm just going to glue this box together. So just like I did with the first one, I like to start with these large flaps on the side that's going to adhere the main portion of the box together, adding some liquid adhesive and putting those together, and then kind of folding back that first flap and adding adhesive onto the second flap. Now, to adhere the top of the box together, remember that that top fold folds outward. So it folds differently than you would expect things to do. You kind of always expect things to fold in the same direction, but this one folds out. And that's what's going to help your impossible box stay closed. I went ahead and did that box flap fold on the bottom portion of my impossible box, squirted just a little bit of liquid adhesive under each of those flaps, and then I held that in place for just a second. Then I'm going to open up the top of my impossible box and once again push my i-Press burnisher down into the inside and really push on that glue and make sure that's going to adhere together. Now this one is going to be my little vampire, so I used those accessory pieces and I cut them from black. This is going to be just the top of his little hair, and then I cut the cape as well as his dress robes, and then his eyes and his mouth I cut from red cardstock, and just so that I could have a little bit of a different color. I'm going to go ahead and glue his robes down at the bottom on the front of the box, and then the cape goes on the back, and you can have this going kind of whichever way you want to go. I only added adhesive along that top portion so that it looks from the back like his cape is kind of flying in the wind. So I only added adhesive to the top, but that's completely up to you. Again, I used the center portion of the impossible box to cut out some of those little triangles to add on the top for an accent piece. Now for my last little guy, I've already assembled my box. I cut him from some white cardstock this time, and then I cut a whole bunch of these little mummy dressings from some brown cardstock. I added inking along each side, and I'm just going to go ahead and use my liquid adhesive and put a bunch of these onto my impossible box. I am starting on that little outer flap there, the portion that forms the lid of the impossible box, but I will lift up that top portion, and I'm going to continue the mummy dressings even underneath there. I did have to trim them a little bit just to make sure that the top flap of the impossible box would fold down over the mummy dressings, but that was just an easy thing to do, is just trim off the edges a little bit. I wanted to make sure that the eyes were kind of peeking out from the mummy dressings. I thought that would just be a cute little touch. And once I got all that adhered, here is the finished product. So here you can see how the mummy dressings go underneath the flap as well. And I did add those little accent triangles to the top piece for this guy as well. So here are all three of my little impossible box monsters. I have my little green monster, my little vampire, and my little mummy. And each of them are absolutely adorable. I can't wait to see what you guys make with this die set and how you will use this for your Halloween treats. Remember that you can visit the iCrafter website for more inspiration, as well as the iCrafter YouTube channel for more tutorials. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will see you again very soon. Bye!